me just give people some time to trickle in and go announce the stream, and then we'll get started. If you're coming to hang out, say hi so I can gauge when the chat and the viewers are ready to begin. I'm going to try to go announce in a couple places. Hey Fletcher, welcome to the real stream. I'm spending a couple minutes here letting people shuffle in so that most people can catch the beginning. Where'd it go? Guess I better tell Twitter too. Alright, well, I think that's long enough waiting. If people aren't here yet, then they'll trickle in once we get started. So, the goal for today is to make a small example program that I can use to copy paste into other programs, and it'll be in the public domain, so anyone can use to copy paste into other programs. That just has all the basics that I can think of to make a nice little custom border window without a whole lot of complication, you know, kind of keeping things as simple as possible outside within that custom border, making the customization of the border itself relatively painless. So let's see how this goes. First things first, I'm just going to go ahead and pull up, I already did the Google search, but I'm going to just start with some reading. So let's start from here. This topic demonstrates how to use desktop window manager APIs to create custom window frames for your application. Okay. In Windows Vista and later. Okay, that's going to be a problem already because I'm on Windows 7. And I'd kind of like to make it a solution that works for at least 7 or later. So I guess none of this applies. Explorer 7. Is there any other mentions of Windows 7? Yeah, it doesn't look like it. So whatever this is, this won't work. Let's see. That looks like Windows 7, so that's good. Most programs should use standard window frames. Immersive applications can have a full screen mode that hides the window frame. Consider using glass strategically for a simpler, lighter, more cohesive look. The window frame users can manipulate a window and view the title and icon to identify its contents. Okay. Sometimes the best window frame is no frame at all. This is often the case for the primary window of immersive full screen applications, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Most Windows applications use a standard window frame. However, for immersive full screen standalone applications, like games and kiosk applications, it may be appropriate to use custom frames for any windows that aren't shown full screen. The motivation to use custom frames should be to give the overall experience a unique feel, not for branding. Okay, if you say so. Custom frames are appropriate for immersive full-screen standalone applications such as games. Okay. Can we get to the part where you explain how? Window frames. These are just like, it's just like a style guide. Okay. Yeah, that's not extremely helpful. Hey, Frozen Zerker, hello. So that was this here, which is just totally unhelpful. Guessing this is probably not going to be super helpful. Maybe this is all just going to be design stuff and I should go read something else. Yeah, I'm under design guidelines, I see. Okay. So let's just back out of this. Stack Overflow is not going to be extremely helpful. But maybe I'll have a good MSDN link. Yes, it's good to be back. Now that the four-coder madness is done from last year, where I was cramming to get a new version out, a new major version out, I feel a little more comfortable. This is just going to be the Vista thing again, yeah. Spending time on the 7 is later than Vista. You know what, you're right. I got that switched in my head, didn't I? Vista came before 7. Okay. You're right. Let's do that. Thanks for the save from chat. That will make things easier. XP was before Vista and then 7. Right. That's right. Okay. Here we go. Non-client areas of, okay, in Windows Vista and later, the appearance of non-client areas of application windows, the title bar, icon, window border, and caption buttons is controlled by the DWM. Using the DWM APIs, you can change the way the DWM renders a Windows frame. One feature of the DWM APIs is the ability to extend the application frame into the client area. This enables you to integrate a client UI element, such as a toolbar, into the frame, giving the UI controls a more prominent place in the application UI. For example, Windows set in Internet Explorer 7 on Windows Vista integrates the navigation bar into the window frame. So yeah, I see. Right. Blah, 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 blah. I know what you're talking about. Okay, so it looks like the idea here is that we're going to start by creating a window with no border, and then we're going to extend the frame into the client area. So I will be rendering just a rectangle on the screen, and then I will shrink in that rectangle a little bit and call the inside of the rectangle the client area and the outside of it the frame. So let's get a couple of the basics up and running here. I'm going to need WinMain. Can't remember the parameters to WinMain. I mean, who could? So let's pull that up here. There we go. Undefined behavior. I think I just found what I need. We'll see, but I think I'm on track now. So I've already set up a little four-coder project here. I have. I don't want that. I have to delete that real quick. But I have the C file for Win32 custom window, the four-coder project, and then a build folder. Let me see about. deleting that real quick, that extra file. I must have generated one accidentally. Custom window, don't want those. Okay, so for that I should have a program I can actually build and run that does nothing. Right, good. Okay, so there we go. Now we need to create a window. And I'm just going to work backwards from the create window function for all that other stuff you have to do. So here we go. It's going to be a little bit of a grind to get some of this up and running. But I want to do it from scratch so that I end up with a easy to use example program for copying and pasting this later. Class name. So that was the extended style that I copied out there, right? Yeah. Probably not going to use any of those, but I'll just keep that there. Extended style. XY with height. What's going on there? We'll just use defaults for all of those. The window parent is just going to be null, right? Valid window handle. Right, so I just pass 0 for that and that. I have my each instance right there. And no, we don't need an LPAN. Okay, so there's my window, but a couple of things I didn't do. I did not create that window class. So let's back up. We need to call register window class. There's register class. Got the name wrong. Oops. Those just float around, so I'll call this window class window class. That's not right. This needs to be the window class struct thing. We need one of those. Worker bug hit. Not on my most recent version, am I? That might be what's going on there. Not sure though. Okay. All right. Let's just grab all these and plop them right here. Window class, each of these. That didn't work. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. Then we're going to do don't have OCD in here yet. There's an OCD command that's in the folder, but I haven't integrated it into my version yet, so I don't have the ability to just align that. Hello, Skyward. Alright. Now, we're going to look at class style. This is where we start having to... Oh, where did I just click on the wrong thing? Did I get class styles? Or is that... That's what class styles brings me to, about window classes. Okay. Can you actually take me to class style? I'm clicking on that link and it's taking me here? Okay, there we go. Alright, oh, well, welcome to the stream. Let's see here. Do any of these matter? Disable close in the window menu. Redraw, I don't care about that. OMDC, I don't care about that. V-redraw, I don't care about that. Don't care about that. Close client area on a byte boundary. You don't care about that. I don't think I care about any of these. Send the double click message to the window procedure when the user double clicks the mouse. Enables the drop shadow effect on a window. No, I don't actually care about any of these. Alright, so that can be 0. We need the window proc now. This is getting a window up is such a bother because of all these things. Like tug on the you call create window and it tugs on so many other things. You have to register a class. You have to get a window proc. This is the third like major branch of the tree in my brain of things I have to keep track of while I am putting this together. All right. Let's pull these down. All right. That needs to go right here. I want to rename it so that it doesn't conflict with like their type def name or something. So I'll call this custom. I'll just I don't know. Let's see. I don't know. Call it custom window proc. How about that? And this has to switch on new message, and in the default case, we want to do def window, default window proc or something, right? Yeah. Def window proc, new message, param. Okay, there we go. Alright, let's take a look at what these are on the, let's focus on the finishing this part now that that's all in there. Class styles, we're done with that one. Extra bytes, we're not doing anything with extra bytes. Number of extra bytes to allocate following the window instance. And I don't care about that. Each instance I can stick right there, assuming that means what I think it does. Handle to the instance that contains the window procedure for the class. Yeah, there we go. Handle to the icon. Yeah, we're not going to do an icon right now, so I'll just leave that blank. Cursor we're not going to do. We're not going to do a background brush. We're not going to do a menu name. Okay, so that boils just down to this. Window class. There we go. Skyward Dev asks, what's the objective today? The objective is to make a small standalone C program that can be used as an example for windows with custom borders, so that if anyone, including myself, ever wants to make a window with a custom border, they can just come in here and copy paste out the relevant parts, integrate it into their system. I'm not trying to make it into a library, it's just an example program that I want to like streamline for being able to copy paste into other projects. So I'm trying to like leave certain things here and there that annotate like this. I'm leaving in because I want everyone to know that there's no style that's necessary on this, so you don't need to set aside a style. These, I haven't actually filled this one in yet, but this is going to be zeros even if I don't need any, which I'm sure I actually need some of these. I'm going to need overlapped or pop-up or whatever. The point is, that's what we're working on. We're going to design the code to be easy to copy paste and understand what you've copied when you're integrating it into your own code. All right, so there we go. I think that's the window class part. Let's get this up in the debugger. Community link. Okay, I'm sorry, we will deal with that in a second. Yeah, okay. Okay. What is the name of the library I need for these things? User32 web. There we go. So that will just come. I'll just stick this right up here. So that people don't have to go digging through the batch file to find them. All right. So we should be able to step through that now. Okay, that looks like it succeeded. I want to add in a quick thing to catch if it fails, and that can just like this. If the atom comes back as a 0, then we're going to print f. And okay, so there we go. That's a good start. Let's see if we can create a window successfully. Yeah, we got a valid window there. what gets returned when create window fails? Return, if the function fails to return value is null. Okay. All right, there we go. So that creates a window. Now what we need to do is make sure that our window is we want to make sure that our window is has the right styles, which we skipped over when we first called the create window thing because we had to pull on the window class thing. The window has a thin line border. No, we don't want your borders. We're making our own. The window has a title bar. I don't know that we want that. The window is a child window. No, no. Excludes the area occupied by child windows when drawing occurs within the parent. This style is used when creating a parent window. No. No. The window is initially disabled. Disabled window cannot receive input from the user. To change this after a window has been created, use the enable window. No. DLG frame. The window has a border of a style typically used with dialog boxes. A window with this style cannot have a title bar. No. The window is the first control of a group of controls. No. The window has a horizontal scroll bar. No. The window is initially minimized. No. The window is initially maximized. No. The window has a maximize button. Cannot be combined with X context. Yes, I do want that. Although, I wonder if that's gonna... You know what, maybe I don't want that. Because I would rather draw the maximize button in a custom way myself, and then at what point does the operating system's maximize button even get involved, right? So I'm going to guess we don't want these, actually. It's an overlapped and an overlapped window, has a title bar and a border, same as the tiled style, so not overlapped. The window is a pop-up window. The style cannot be used with the WS child style. Okay. Well, what is a pop-up window? Has a caption and let's not put that in there. The window has a sizing border, the same as thick frame style. So that I think we want, because that's going to let it resize the window. So that's probably the first thing we actually want. No. The Windows controller can receive the keyboard focus when the user presses tab. No. The window has a sizing border. Yeah, we already have that. Why don't we use... Yeah, we'll use sizebox. That's a better name. Tiled, no, we don't want that. Visible, yes, we want that. So those are going to be the only two styles we get. And we're going to need an actual way to render to it. So, well, let's just see what happens here. Yeah, just close right away. That's fine. What we're going to have to do is create a message pumping loop now. So let's come over here, get message. Okay, so we want to get a message. There's a message. Here's that we want to be a 0, actually, not our window, because we want to get messages for all windows, and that's what the 0 tells it to do. And I think we can just set both of these to 0, and it won't do any filtering, which is, I think, what we want, right? We can set those both to 0, yes. Both 0, returns all available messages. Good. Okay, so that's good. What is the return value? This message other than WM quit, the return value is non-zero. Return value is 0. Okay. We're just gonna always do the same thing, actually, because we'll be the ones deciding when we quit or not. We'll just put up here a little we'll just say that's how we control it, and we'll set it to true right here. Since we're in C, I'll call it setting it to 1. Okay. And then I guess what we'll do is, for now, if we get the WM quit message, then I will set keep running to 0. Okay, so I don't have any way to render to it, but it did give itself the normal frame still. Can't move it around either, which is unexpected. And the title is weird. It just says W. Don't know what that's about. Gonna have to employ Task Manager on this one. Alright, custom window, end process. Okay. So we got a couple bugs to work out there. First of all, I was surprised to see it still had the normal border. I also noticed it didn't Alt F4. No, the return value of getMessage wouldn't be the problem here because, oh, you know what? I'm calling getMessage, but I'm never getting message doesn't actually finish the job. You have to send the message to your window explicitly. Okay, so after you get a message, you need to what is it called? It's not post message. That sends it onto the queue. This gets a message off the queue, but you have to like it's not translate message. This is the one you call if you want Unicode translation to work. But I forget what the other one is called. Get message. Translate message. Where is the other one? Calls the get message. Pointing to a message structure that contains message information received. Translate. Where is the? Is it like handle message? Send message? Is it send message? Send message. Here it is. No, that's not the one I want. Reply message. Yeah. I think that's right. Right? No, that's not it either. Oh goodness, why can't I remember this? Maybe I should just search for the message loop real quick to remind myself how you send it. Dispatch message. That's the one. That's gotta be it. That takes the right type. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so that should do it. So I don't need to check this return here because this should be handling the WM quit, but for this to run, I have to call the dispatch message. That should be the trick. And now, I believe, yeah, now it'll move around for me, and if I hit F4, it'll close. Right? it'll close. That might not have worked for some reason. So let's close that again. So closing the window still didn't. I guess that was a different message, but I'm not sure which message I got sent. So WM destroy, maybe. Let's just Google this one. What message does Alt F4 send? Okay. So there we go. And boom, and there we go. Okay, that cleaned it up. So those now just handled by turning off our running loop thing. Thank you, Skyward, in the chat for the backup on those. All right, we got our basic loop up and running. What we're going to need to make this useful at all is actually demonstrating some rendering happening. I'm debating the best way to go about doing that. I guess I'll just do maybe GDI right here, or maybe in, I don't want to do it in the render, like in the paint, WM paint, because that just is confusing. So yeah, let's do this. I will just re-render. I won't do an animation. I'll just re-render whenever a message comes in. So we don't have anything animating, but we don't really need it for this example. And I want to keep the example simple. And GDI seems like the easiest thing to get up and running. I don't have to do an OpenGL context or anything else, and hopefully those should all be the same. I guess maybe I should actually, if I have time, test it out with something a little heavier weight than GDI to make sure, but I think that'll be a good way to do it. Okay, let's see. Forecoder's on OpenGL. No, I don't need Urban Dictionary. I need. All right. GDI is a bit of a pain in itself, but at least it'll be easy to get like a rectangle or two on the screen. I don't want to use bitmaps yet. I just want to render to the screen. Can we talk about that? This is a little daunting, the number of links here. Let's just read. The Microsoft Windows graphics device interface enables applications to use graphics and formatted text on both the video display and the printer. Windows-based applications do not access the graphics hardware directly. Instead, GDI interacts with device drivers on behalf of applications. GDI can be used in all Windows-based applications. This API is designed for use by C++ programmers. Familiarity with Windows message-driven architecture is required. For information on which operating systems are required for particular functions, see the requirements section, blah, 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 blah. All right, I guess we... Printing, multiple display monitors, lines and curves, font, device contexts. Let's just start with bitmaps and see if it does any. Let's just scroll through real quick and see if it's what we need. Using bitmaps. Scaling an image, drawing a shader, rectangle, test, sizing Do you know what I could do? could look at an example of the WM Paint documentation. That might be an easier way to figure out what's going on. This overview describes how the system manages output to the screen. That's what we needed. Okay. And explains what applications must do to draw in a window. In particular, this overview describes display device contexts and how to prepare and use them. Okay, that's what we need. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, let's see. About painting and drawing. Nearly all applications use the screen to display the data they manipulate. An application paints images, draws figures, and writes text, yada yada. I know what an application is. Just get to the part where you explain what you need to tell me. An application draws in a window at a variety of times. When the first creates a window, manages actions such as moving in your system. You know, I think I already know what I want to read. I want to read this one, right? This is what we're trying to do, drawing without the WM Paint message. Although applications carry out most drawing operations while the WM Paint message is processing, it is sometimes more efficient for an application to draw directly in a window without relying on the WM Paint message. This can be useful when the user needs immediate feedback, such as when selecting text and dragging or sizing an object. So, like, most of the time, you need to do this. In such cases, the application usually draws while processing keyboard or mouse messages. To draw in a window without using a WM Paint message, the application uses the getDC or getDCX function to retrieve a display device context for the window with the display device context. Yeah, so we're going to do getDC, release DC. The application usually does not invalidate the window. Instead, it draws in such a fashion that it can easily restore the window and remove the drawing. For example, when the user selects text or an object, the application typically draws the selection by inverting whatever is already in the window. Right, exactly. Alright, here we go. Man, those docs sometimes, I'm telling you, it's obtuse. Oops, caps lock, page wind, DC, must have had it on right here too. Okay. Alright, so, that's a good start. When drawing without a blah, 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 visual content of the window by simply inverting it, the application is responsible for carefully managing any changes it makes to the window. Alright, so what we're going to do is the same kind of loop I do in ForCoder. We're just going to say every time we get a message, what we'll then do is peek on the next messages until we don't have any more. So let's get that up here. I might want to clear out some of these. I don't know if I need them all anymore. We don't need you. We don't need you. We don't, well, I might want you again. Window proc, I don't need. Okay. And I don't need these right now. Message W, get a message. We want a 0 for the next 3 parameters. And remove message. Messages are removed from the queue after processing by peak message. Yes, please do. And we'll have those all dispatch as well. Then the last thing we have to do is add in some kind of rate limiter. We should be smart about that, but what I'm going to do is just say, look, let's see, this is probably in milliseconds, so 33. Alright, so that's fine. All I was able to do here make this actually a frame limiter for the example. I don't want to spend time on that right now. It's not where my mind is. I might want that to actually be correct for the example, but it really doesn't even matter. Like, I don't know, in my opinion, adding stuff to an example that is not absolutely necessary to make it run is fine. The purpose of the sleep is just so that we don't end up like trying to render too frequently. It's kind of like if you were making a game, you would have a thing that like looks to see how much time you have left until the end of the frame and sleeps that long. That way you hit the right frame rate. If you don't do that, then you just end up like, I mean, here we would still sleep on get message, I suppose, if there were no events. But if there were events, it would be able to just basically run at unlimited pace. So I'm just saying, let's only have 30 frames a second at max. It's still going to be event driven, so I still have to wait for get message to wake up anyway, but if there are more messages coming in, there's still a max of 30 frames a second. That's what this is doing. Now, it's actually worse than that because some of the time spent here will not be accounted for that, so it'll be slower than 30 frames a second, but this isn't, I'm just making an example of the window border thing, so I don't really care about that aspect of it, right? You're copy pasting this into a real program that does that better. So maybe I'll leave a note. Okay. All right, we got a note from Martins, which I will not ignore. Sounds relevant. DWM flush. Let me read this to understand what I'm doing. It uses a flush call that blocks the caller until the next present. When all of the Microsoft DirectX Surface updates that are currently outstanding have been made, this compensates for very... Okay. Okay, so this is like swap. This is like the swap buffers thing when you're doing OpenGL or something, right? Okay. Yeah. Cool. I like that. Is that something you use whenever you're doing GDI, DirectX, like any Microsoft API, you just do DWM flush? Is that the case? Or is that just in this particular thing I'm doing that you're suggesting that? I see. I see. Okay. If my notes are wrong, let me know, but I'm going to try to make this example easy to use so you can learn what the details of how to do this are. So I'm going to add little notes like that. It's cool. Let's see. We got the peak message. So I wanted to just render some example thing to fill the screen up with something. Get DC function. Okay, we don't need these anymore. Message brushes Device context. Let's see about this. Using the device context functions. I just need an example of a rectangle now. Maybe if I look at an example of WM Paint, though, let me double check that I was actually done looking at this example here. There we go. Hold on. I can't tell, I'm not super familiar with the GDI API. I've only used it once, so I'm just looking for something that looks like a normal draw rectangle option or something, but this is not quite what I expected. Or at least I don't know, this is not what I expected to find. I'm not sure where to find the thing I'm looking for because I've only ever found it once before. Let's see, draw edge function draws one or more edges of a rectangle. I pass through a rectangle and I feel like this is a rectangle outline, right? I think I have to do begin paint, end paint. Is that right? All right, let's see if I take a look. More tips from Martin's. What's going on here? Yeah, this is what I was looking for. I mean, I don't know if I've actually called this particular function before, but this does what I'm looking for. Draws text using the currently selected font, background color, and text color. You can optionally provide dimensions. Okay, so I'm assuming this is a thing where I can just not X coordinate, Y coordinate, not use a string or something to get it to be a blank rectangle. Use the application to find a rectangle. It's primary code with the following values. Opaque, the current background color should be used to fill the rectangle. The current background color should be used to fill the rectangle. Pointer to an optional rect structure that specifies the dimensions and not the importance of a rectangle that is used for clipping, opaquing, or both. I see. String that specifies the text to be drawn. Pointer to a string that specifies the text to be drawn. The string does not need to be 0. Terminated since we can. Okay, I get the concept. Yeah, Sounds good. So what we're looking for here is DC. What did that do? X coordinate of the reference point used to position a string. Alright, I assume that probably doesn't matter. Okay, I assume that doesn't matter. This actually does matter. Pointer to an optional array of values that indicate the distance between origins of adjacent character cells. So no, we don't need that. So excuse me. Here's the one thing I actually need, is this rectangle. Aha. Okay, good tip. The current background color should be used. Right. I was just reading that. That makes sense. Okay. Whoops. Don't need that right now. Okay. Rect. I assume. Oops, that's a little coming up. I assume that these are XY width height. Is that right? Or are they top left? No, these are top left right. Left top right bottom. Where is that? It doesn't have a pointer to it. Here it is. Here it is. Yeah, left top, right bottom. Okay. Right. So I just want 0, 0, window width, window height. Grab those right here. Technically, I could just use client rect down there, but I'll be a slightly good citizen and just be sure that I've got the right thing. Left. I think that's the right stuff. Right. Okay. I need to set a color for that to actually show up still. So we can get rid of that. Get rid of these for now. Get rid of these. And do any of these have to do with color? No, not the ones I need. Alright. Does this give me a hint of which color it's going to use? The current background color. So I just need to set the background color is what I need. go back to that list. Where is that list? I just had a list. I lost it. Device context. Device context reference. Context functions. No, I went down the wrong path here. I think. Unless this is where I can. No, this is not it. Alright, let's try that again. That is interesting information. This one. Actually, let me keep this tab up. This one. Painting and drawing reference. Okay. Functions. Alright, I need to set the background color. There we go. So we need to set the background color on this PC. Oh, I put in this in the wrong spot. Let me put this in braces so that it doesn't get lost again. Okay. RGB macro. I'm assuming these are like just integers. Yeah. Let's make it white. Well, let's make it something that actually stands out a little bit so that you can tell it's working when you see it. Let's not oversaturate it either, because that will just be unpleasant. Okay. That's roughly kind of like working. Still doing that window blur thing. I haven't figured that part out yet. Okay, some of these must not be necessary. Maybe that's the only part I need. No, maybe I need to add a style that takes that off. Let's go back to this. I think I'm going to want that. Window is an overlapped window. Overlapped window has a title bar and a border saying visible. One of these. Pop-up window. Maybe pop-up is what I need. See about this. I got a window. It's got a client rect of 0, huh? Maybe that's what happens when the default is used with pop-up or something. Let's try something else then. Let's say that we're going to place it at 100, 100. 500. There it is. There it is. Okay, it still has a border that I can resize, but the rest is doing what I want. I have to get the client rect every time if I want it to stay correct. Yeah, okay, okay. client rect window width height. Do that right here from now on, and then let's see. So that worked. So I want to leave a note there. So I guess what I could do is initialize the window with TW use default and then put the pop-up style on it afterwards before I make it visible. Maybe? I don't want to make this too messy, but I just want to experiment a little bit here. See what happens. It'd be nice if you could still use the use default feature. Forget the name of this function. Modify window style. Set window long A. That's the one. Maybe Windows pop-up style isn't the one I need. I'll go mess with that then if that's not the right direction. A problem that I'm having is if I do this. Oh, I never set it to visible. That's going to be a problem. Uh-oh. All right. I'm pretty sure I'm running on an old version of Forker right now. It's the only thing that explains a couple of the things I've seen. Window, something there yet. Okay. Show window, trend. Show. The objective is to make an example program that creates a window that has a custom styled window border, but it's still like easy to, it's still resizable. It's clear how you make it resizable and can drag it around. Have like minimize, maximize X buttons. So like any of the custom windows that an application would use, but just in a small little example program. Okay, so we're to that point again. The question is, how do I actually get rid of that border? I'm forgetting how to do that. One of these must be the way to do it, right? Or is it an extended style? I can't remember. All right, hold on. Couple different things coming on. Are you still using Windows 7? Yes. You mean some way other than NC Paint? Like you want to control the shape of things too? I don't know what NC Paint does. Maybe that's exactly what I'm looking for. This? This lets you draw the frame, right? And yeah, I'm fine with a rectangle. I'm just looking for it to be my rectangle, my rendering space. The frame, like I'm just looking to render into that frame space. There is no easy way to title bar border. Like the 4-quarter full screen thing, isn't that an example of, like, I don't have the window there. How do I actually do that? Like, let's do that little piece of code. Full screen. I thought it was just a window style thing. If it's full screen if it's not overlapped. So I just turn off the overlapped thing. Oh, is it because I'm setting it to the size of the monitor that it doesn't show the border? Yeah, I might do that if this turns out to be too much work. At what time are we at? 7:14. So I allotted myself 3 hours to take a look at what goes into this. So if 2 hours from now I'm still completely unhappy with how I'm doing, I'll definitely just go take a look at that and figure it out. Yeah, so the point is, I get that full screen is easier since you don't have to do the resizing and the moving part, but why is the full screen so easy to get rid of the bar? Like, I get that this full screen method here doesn't actually work for what I'm doing by itself, but why isn't just taking an overlapped window off the style good enough for making the border go away? That's what I thought happened when you took that off. Like, I'm not putting any style in here that should create a border. That's what I'm confused about. I see. I see. Okay, so what we actually need to do is take over how we paint this part. Message is sent to a window when its frame must be painted. A window receives this message through its window proc function. Handle to the update region of the window. The update region is clipped to the window frame. This parameter is not used. The application returns 0 if it processes this message. Alright, let's check it out. See what we can do. Yeah, I have a second monitor hooked up. I don't see like the border hanging off the side or anything. So what are we doing here? This looks like it's the W param is the. Okay, so that's just to get the region. I should take a look at this function here. Retrieves a handle to a device context for the client area of a specified window or for the entire screen. You can use the return handle subsequent GDI functions to draw to the DC. The device context is an opaque data structure whose values are used internally by GDI. This function is an extension of the getGDC function. Okay. HGRN clip, a clipping region that may be combined with the visible region of the DC. I see. If the value of the flags is intersect or exclude region, then the operating system assumes ownership of the region will be automatically deleted. Okay. A clipping region that may be combined with the visible region of the DC. Okay. I see. So this is just a handle to begin with, and then I'm passing that through to here to let it know that that's what I'm rendering. It's not actually a rectangle or something. Specifies how the DC is created. I see. So that is why we have DCX window and DCX intersect region. The clipping region identified by is intersected with the visible region of the return DC. Okay, got it. So this right here says we're doing the whole window. I don't actually know what that means, so I'm just going to not say anything. Okay, so why is that on a separate one? Okay. Can I paint anything in here now, and then it just shows up? Let's find out. Make it black. I have to figure out the right region though. Okay, so yes and no. Kind of actually made progress. It's not easy to tell with the four-coder background because of the fact that it's black. So let's go with dark red. It's not showing up now. Did I screw something up on that one? Maybe I'm not doing this part right. Okay. If that is actually showing up, we won't possibly be able to miss it. Okay, so it's not showing up. It's definitely different now, because you can't see the normal border around the edge here. I mean, there's something happening in there, right? There's some like garbage in there. I guess that's the garbage from when I originally... I have to like do a begin paint or an end paint or something like that to invalidate the region, I guess. That's probably what's going on, right? It's that kind of thing. How is that autocompleting? Oh, I have this up here. Okay, that's definitely some of the oldest code in four-coder, but we can ignore that. Paint information. Okay. But if I'm doing begin paint, and it returns a DC, doesn't that, is it just a redundant DC that I ignore? Is that the idea? Let me read. Function C, the return value is the handle to a display device context for the specified window. Sets the clipping region of the device context to exclude any area outside the update region. Alright, let's give it a shot. That sounds like what I need to do. Paint. So it wants the same paint again. I guess if it's an output parameter, I don't care either way, so I might as well. It's still just full of the garbage that was in there when I first created the window. So I think this will make it easier to tell what's happening. So you see there's like an area around the window. If I move it over here, you can see that that area has not changed. It's got the same orange. You can see the like, little four-coder text in that section. So there's a border that I'm rendering to, but it's just not the color I tried to render it into. And you know what? It looks like this got messed up. So that interior part is actually entirely under my control, I guess. I could render anything to that if I was doing this right somehow. I don't know, maybe not. It's definitely not updating the normal way, but it's not it's not inside this blue section that I control either, because otherwise that would be getting filled, right? I wonder if I'm getting the wrong coordinates still. Just for experience. What if I did it here? So this would give me a wider rectangle. Yeah, I'm still not able to paint in that region, so that's not what's going on. Let's check out more of the docs on NC Paint, see if it clears anything else up. Can intercept the NC Paint and paint its own custom window frame. The clipping region for a window is always rectangular, even if the shape of the frame is altered. The W param value can be passed as in the following. Okay. Paint into this DC. So I thought I did paint into the DC. So we're definitely, because we're doing this, preventing the normal thing from happening, right? Alright, if I were to switch back to just this, we would see a normal window. And it's like blue and stuff in there, and for whatever reason it always says W right there, and all of that is white, and it stays correct even as I move it around. So that suggests to me that all of that border stuff must be getting rendered by that message that I'm intercepting, right? So otherwise, why would it be affected? The question is just, what do I actually have to do to make my stuff show up? Yeah, it's not relevant. Using the device context. I set the background color, made it opaque, I used the rectangle. I wonder if I need to use absolute coordinates instead of relative coordinates or something. I wonder if the window rect would actually work. If it did, I would still see pink in portions of it, right? So, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. There's going to be a forum. Jeez. All right, let's try this suggestion here. So it's saying, forget this thing. Use this thing. Does not appear to exist. Yeah, they both refer to it and it doesn't exist. See if we can figure out what value it's supposed to have. It's just an example code that does what I'm trying to do, so I'm not going to spend too much time looking at it, as it kind of ruins the point of the exercise a little bit, but I will try to see if I can at least get the paint part working. Do NC paint H window clip. Yikes. Wouldn't want to copy too much of this anyway. What is your GWL style thing for set window long putter if you're using that? I'm not using set window long putter or GWL style, so I'm not sure what your why are you expecting me to use set window long putter first of all? Jeez, annoyingly complicated. Is this really what it looks like, or is this overcomplicated? You're doing the window region copy thing. Okay. Alright, so what is the rectangle function that I gotta figure out that thing I was just looking at first, because if I'm gonna use style, I need to figure out what value it's supposed to have. Why is it not? Maybe it's in one of these other headers. Not sure. Let's try it. So set window long putter is for modifying the style of a window, right? Unless you did it with something else with it. I'm happy to get suggestions. I just don't want to copy paste someone's code. It's something I'm not going to do. Okay, so the suggestion from Martin is to stop using this and look for the rectangle function. Well, use the rectangle function is his suggestion. I have to look for it since I don't know where it is. R is down from E. Rectangle. Okay, it's just called rectangle. Good. C. Oh. Well, NC Paint appears to be the spot where, like, I've already got it not drawing that region, and it's still not letting me draw into that region, but it's certainly not drawing that region. See, it's all gooped up and messed up there because it's not replacing it. So my region is getting replaced, but what I can't get it to do is let me paint into that region in the first place. Of course, if my code compiled, that might actually make some difference. Oh, okay. I appear to have done something. Because now I just have a white border, which is coolish. So I didn't get my color. Maybe rectangle doesn't use the background color. Is outlined by using the current pen and filled using the right. So GDI being fun. Let's see how to set the current brush. This is going to be under set, so below R. Background color. Set brush color, set pen color. Okay. Yeah. So these are just going to be like this. Five. Brush color. Okay, so we set the pen in the brush color, and now we can see our. Still not. It's white now. Right, the select object stuff. I forgot about that. Oh my gosh, this is so much fun. Yeah, this is only my second time around the merry-go-round with GDI, so a lot of this stuff is still not really super cemented in my brain how it works. Handle to the object to be selected. Specified object must have been created by using one of the following functions. Object into the specified device context. Okay. I have to do a create brush. So it says here you can set the rectangles by the current pen and the current brush. So that's the current device context brush color. That's the brush color. I don't know how that's different, but it doesn't matter. The point is, I think I have to create solid brush and create pen. There we go. Yeah. Do you need to? You are no longer need the H brush delete object. Okay, so I guess what I'll do is just all in one. Brush, create solid brush. Oh, I see what you're saying. So those are default. I don't think I've ever used that feature then, because I've always had to create the object and then set it. But you're saying all I have to do is set those and then select the object called DC pen, DC brush. So there's like a default pen and brush sitting in the context that I can select. I see. Okay. Get stock object. Okay. And let me just take a look at that parameter list now. In case it also needs the DCing or anything, so that I get it right early on. Okay. Hey, there we go. Alright, so I can move it around. I can't resize it, but I think I know how to fix that. And I can't close it or anything, but I can render to it, and I can move it. So that's cool. And now that it's working, I don't actually want it to look like that. Let's go for like something like this. Okay, cool. That looks cool. So the next thing is I want to play with the style of the window real quick. I think if I made the style have this again, I think it would resize. I see. So what's happening there is, since I render the whole thing and I don't use the paint message, when you resize, the stuff you do in the frame paint just takes over. So my options for fixing that are only render into the area that I actually consider the frame, Or handle W in Paint and put the teal in there. I want to see a couple other things too. Huh. So that still works, which is pretty cool. For some reason up doesn't work, but maybe that's because you can't maximize now. I guess if you can't maximize, it doesn't let you do that, but it still does all of these things. Yeah, I can't minimize it either, so that's probably it. In that case, let's try and put those back in. Maximize, minimize, that'll let those work. Okay, so it started off minimized and then I accidentally maximized it. Minimize. Okay, weird. Why is that back? Don't know. It's going again. Must be a different message or something. Alt tab does that. Alt space. Alt space isn't doing anything right now. Alt space does that thing. How do I always end up making alt space not work? I don't know, because I haven't intercepted any key down messages or anything. What am I looking at? I just want to see the WM sysmenu docs. Can I have that? WM. Oh, is this a Windows? It's not a Windows message. It's a Windows style. I see. The window has a window menu on its title bar. If I do that, will it just be there but rendered, not rendered? So that if you clicked in the wrong spot, it would minimize or maximize or something? Or is that... Well, I guess we can just try it and find out. What does caption do? The window has a title bar. Yeah, well, let's see. Start off minimized again. I'm not sure why it's doing that. Yeah, it still has the button if I do that. Okay, NC hit test. So all of these things with the word N, with the phrase NC in them seem to be relevant to the non-client area. Is that what it stands for? So if I just do nothing in there, I suppose I probably get the buttons to go away and I can make my own buttons. Not doing that, 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 not doing that. We'll keep that one up in case it comes up again. WMNC hit test. part of the window corresponds to a particular screen coordinate. This can happen, for example, when the cursor moves, when a mouse button is pressed or released, or in response to a call to a function such as window from point. The mouse is not captured, the message is sent to the window beneath the cursor. Otherwise, the message is sent to the window that has captured the mouse. A window receives this message through its window proc. Boundary is not used. The low order word specifies the x coordinate, the high order word specifies the y coordinate. The return value of def window proc function is one of the following values, indicating the position of the cursor hotspot. HT border, if in the border of a window that does not have a sizing border. In the lower, okay, so this is for figuring out like what cursor to do and what sizing operation to do. That sounds smart. That sounds smart. So I'll just use, I don't have to implement all of this. I can just call the default and then throw out the ones I don't want, like close. Are there other ones? Maximize, minimize. Okay, cool. Let's try that. Window proc, message, param, L param. Okay, so that's good, and then I want to look at a couple of these buttons and get rid of them. If the result is like this, or the result is like this, or if the result is like this, then I guess 0 isn't defined as any of these things, so that'll just mean nothing. But really I think what I want to do is say that it could just treat that as being in the title bar, right? Caption client. Thought that was an option, but now I'm not seeing it. This is in a window menu or in a close button in a child window, HT size, right border, bars, HT nowhere, on the screen background, dividing line between windows, minimize, maximize, menu, scroll help, sign title bar. I knew there was a title on the screen somewhere. Alright, so for any of those, we'll just say we're on the caption. It's still showing up minimize. I have to figure out why I'm doing that, but boom. Okay, so I can resize it. But I can't click the buttons now. I still found one of the buttons. Yeah, when I click off like that, I can see the button flash right. Ooh. Something bad happening with how often I like invalidate the thing or something. But yeah, when I click off of it, something else happens that renders that section. And sometimes it ends up looking bogus, and other times I can see a flash of the underlying Windows thing still. So I am actually rendering over it somehow, or at least some other thing is showing up to paint as well. I don't know when or where that's happening. I'm never letting the default stuff happen there. Oh, there's something else I wanted to test. Yeah, I know, you're minimized. So Windows up and down still doesn't maximize or minimize. I might have to just do that manually now, right? I mean, these other ones do that, right? Yeah. There, it's doing it again. You can see. Yeah. All right. Let's take a look at what some of these do. WMNC activate. What are you doing? So into a window when its non-client area needs to be changed to indicate an active or inactive state. Yeah, that'll be it. Okay. A window receives this message through its window proc function. How do you, I mean, is there a good place to like find these when you don't know them? Or is this one of those things that you just have to know after having searched really hard? Okay, so NC activate indicates when a title bar or icon needs to be changed to indicate an active or inactive state. If an active title bar or icon is to be drawn, the W parameter is true. If an inactive title bar or icon needs to be drawn, okay, so this is just active or inactive, and I draw like I'm in a paint thing or something, right? So here's what we'll do. We'll say active. In neither case am I using wparam, right? Yeah, I was afraid that's what you'd say. I feel like if I had tried to do this live, it would have been about 3 hours of me looking for and finding maybe one or two of them. So I'm glad you're here to point me in the right direction. So what I want to try to do is treat activate as the same as paint. And then, I mean, I have a wparam that means two different things, but I'm not using it in either, like, in either way I have to be able to operate the paint thing correctly, right? Like, the paint needs to work for NC active, even if I don't have whatever NC paint's wparam means. But the other way around is maybe not true. I do need to know the wparam for NC activate because I want to know if I'm activating or deactivating, but I also want to know that all the time. Like I want to, if I get a paint message when I'm not active, which maybe isn't allowed, but even if it was, I would want to paint the right thing. So is there a way to test if a window is active? Retrieves the window handle to the active window attached to the calling thread's message queue. The return value is the handle of the active window attached to the calling thread's message queue, otherwise return. That's not it. I want to know if a window has focus or not. I mean, I could track the state here. True to indicate the system should proceed with the default processing, or should return false to prevent the change. When wparam is true, return value is ignored. Okay. Alright. Sufficiently complicated that I will be a little bit more careful. So if that's the case, then this needs to be that. And this is a fall through case. Alright, so if the window becomes inactive, we will render a different color. It'll be a little darker. still starting minimized. Right, I click off of it. But it's not different enough for me to tell. But it doesn't look like it worked. I don't know. Maybe it's working, but I need it to be sufficiently different that I can tell it's working. So I'm going to drop this way farther down. I get it. I'm cutting it in half. Why not just cut it in half? Still starting minimized. Yeah, okay, so that is different. That's inactive, active. And if I do this a bunch, I don't get the weird thing where it flashes the other stuff in there anymore. Okay. So the trick with this is going to be that all these different messages might paint into the space, and you have to track them down. I get it now. And then you have to block them and put your own stuff in place. You're right. Thanks. Need a Hitman button. Alright. Alright, so probably if there's going to be lots of different places where I need to paint, then it'll be smarter to just pull it out, right? Change. Border, Richmond. That way things like this result down here and this one up here won't interact, which makes me a little bit nervous when they do. So there we go. Okay. No need for fall through either, which is nice. And I guess we don't really need this anymore, because that was just to prove a point and we can clean that out. Okay. So we're getting there. The next thing to deal with is that I don't really like, well, I should probably stop and drawn when the window is activated or becomes active or inactive. The rule was false, an application should return true. We'll just say always return true. Okay. So let's figure out that minimize thing. It always starts minimized. Is it because when I called show, I didn't say anything other than show window or something? Whoops, don't do that. Show window. Show activates the window and displays it in the current size and position. Okay, so it must be getting a bad size and position. Like it's initially not in a good position or something, right? That would be the only explanation I could think of. Style maximize, minimize. Is it trying to maximize and minimize the window? Is that what those window styles do? I should have read them. The window is initially minimized. Yeah, okay. The window is initially maximized. So that's not what I want. It's maximize box and minimize box are what I wanted. Yeah, so before I actually ship this to anyone, I want to test it on Windows 10, which I can do, and on Windows 7 Aero. No, this isn't Windows 10. So yeah, everything I do here has to also be put to the test on... okay, so now I have that working. That's good. So it was those minimize box and maximize box in order to get this working. And I had minimize and maximize, which is why it was starting minimize. So all that makes sense. And I still have resize, and I have moving it around. Is that forecoder that can't repaint when that thing moves around, or is this thing causing all that chaos? No, Chrome can handle it. It's forecoder that's having a hard time painting after this thing goes, which is interesting. I wonder if I put someone else as the background, what do they do? Yeah, so they can handle it. Forecoder must be doing something wrong. Okay, so other things we want to do. I don't like that we have not got control over the fact that the interior part is going on and off all the time. So I think the only thing to do there is to make sure that you don't render into that when you're rendering the frame if you don't want to, right? And that's also cool because like if you want to get flourishy, you could render a frame that like kind of dips in certain places and not others. So like your frame can then be arbitrarily detailed so long as you only render the sections that you care about. But just rendering the whole thing is just not a very good example of how to think about that. You don't want to think of the frame as underneath but on top of everything else because of the fact that flashing will start happening otherwise. So let's do this. We'll grab both of these, client direct, and we will make them both zero-based in case they're not. I think that they're always going to be zero-based. Martins could tell me for sure, but I'm just going to make sure that they are. And if later he says so, I will leave a note that it's not necessary. Well, I'll delete it. And then what I can do is I just need to do 4 rectangles. So those 4 rectangles go frame rect dot left. Oh, that's not quite going to work, is it? Because if these are zero-based, it would actually have to be like this, and then like this. But I don't know that these will actually. Like, I don't know that these actually. I don't think these give you a top left that is real. Like, I think they're all in zero-based coordinates, so this probably won't work. Right. Ah, okay. Well, that's fine. I'm not really... I'd like to just turn my composite around in that case, because I'd rather do the easy thing that works for 10, and I guess the thing is there a way to check? Is there a runtime way to check if the compositor is on? That's what I would need, right? That's what I should include in this example, because I want this to work on my setup and on my other setups. So is composition enabled? Into value, and the applications on machines running Windows 7 or earlier can listen for composition state changes by hand. Notification. Value that when this function returns value, returns true. Okay, so all right. Suppose I'll just have it set that up at the beginning. Okay. Okay. All right, so back to this. You were saying that the coordinates, the NC coordinates are in, NC area is 0 based for drawing coordinates. But what I'm getting at is I have a window rect and a client rect. Won't both of these functions return me a 0 based rectangle? Like they'll give me a rectangle at 0, 0, right? Or does client rect actually have the right XY? I mean, I just step into it. Look, I don't need to ask. Assuming I've built it, I can step into it. What's going on here? Yeah, so let's just turn that off for a minute. Oh, I see. Client rect is at 0, 0. Frame rect is at 220, 270. So the frame rect is in the right spot. The client rect is not. So what I would need to do is know the offset somehow, or there's a thing that would take the 0.00 Okay, yeah, so the thing I need to figure out is how do I get the client the region of the client rectangle in system coordinates right now. I mean, yeah, I would want to be able to do that. Not sure if I've ever done this before, or maybe just once. Point. Okay, I have done this before. I remember now. Okay. Because you want to do it to the whole rectangle, but the rectangle isn't made up of points, so it's a little bit annoying. Top left, and then okay, so I take client top left. That's where the clients. Yeah, so these I should reorganize. Those stay. No, that stays the way it is. This goes like this. Minus equals becomes plus equals, and then everything after an equal sign to a semicolon becomes client top left. Oh, it's not going to have overloaded operators. So, this actually has to be x, y, x, y. Put those right there. There we go. Top left. And I assume I need to initialize this to 0, 0, as I think that does a translation of a point, not just giving me the top left corner. So I give it 0, 0 in, it'll turn that into screen coordinates for the top left corner of the client rectangle. Shift that rectangle. Oh, I still have to subtract these two. X minus that. Y minus that. And then, okay, then this part is doable. So we want to start with frame rect left, frame rect top. Need to go look at the rectangle function real quick. I don't still have it up. And it wasn't in this list. Rectangle. Okay, it's left top, right bottom. Got it. That's nice, that's convenient. So left top, the right side of the frame rect, and the top side of the client. Client rect dot top. Okay, we'll do four things kind of like that. So we'll do that left, right again, and the frame, okay, this has to be the client rect bottom and the frame rect bottom. It has to be the client rect top and bottom and the client rect left, right, and frame rect right. Oops. Okay, so that still shows the same thing, but we shouldn't see any more cases where yeah, so the reason that flicker is happening is because I'm not doing the paint message. So we just get an arbitrary amount of time before the thing pops back up. If I handled WM paint, that wouldn't be an issue, but I'm not handling that right now. Well, I'd have to take the sleep out too. That's a good concept. Lines, I should have done that. Oh well, I'm gonna leave it the way it is because it's already working. I mean, it's a lot less code, right? No, it just saves me. I'd still have this line. I'd have client top left. I wouldn't need these 4 lines or that line. Yeah, it's example code. Just put good ideas in there. Makes sense. Let's do it. Okay, so point, client top left. I called it X and Y. Did that work? Oh, because that was a point. Yeah. Left, right. No. Sorry, you should be client X. Left and right. So that saves me from having to do this. But I still have to have these 4 because I need to do I see. Well, it's still a cool idea. Might as well show it off in my example code. Left, top, and top. Left, top, left, top. So I'm shifting that into zero-based coordinate system. That's in a zero-based coordinate system. Okay. All right. Let's see. What's next? So the close button, the minimize button, and the maximize button all have to be simulated somehow. So I guess actually showing the example code of what it looks like to simulate them, even if it's not very fancy, would be nice. The other thing I want to do is see if I can change the size of the border. Now I did see something like this earlier in this DWM API. It was the very first thing I was reading about, actually. Here it is. Send frame into client area. What does that actually do? Extends the window frame into the client area. Handle to the window in which the frame will be extended into the client area. So I'm gonna guess here that this doesn't actually change the original client, non-client area's size, right? I can't just make that go away. I see. So these DWM functions won't work without the compositor. Gotcha. If it was enabled, if the DWM functions were enabled, or if I could use them because the compositor was enabled, what does this do exactly? This extend frame into client area. My understanding is that this would make the frame thicker, right? Could you make the frame thinner? WM NC calc size. Okay, alright, that sounds related. Sent when the size and position of a Windows client area must be calculated. By processing this message, an application can control the content of the Windows client area when the size or position of the window changes. Okay. sent when the size and position of the Windows client area must be calculated. So whenever we do get client rect, I wonder if that triggers this this thing, or is it like gonna save it? I guess is the question. Okay, okay. Return value parameter is false. Return 0 if the W parameter is true. The application should return 0 or a combination of the following values. Return 0, the old client area is preserved and is aligned with the upper left corner of the new client area. Top specifies the client area of the window is to be preserved and aligned to the top of the new position of the window. So does WPARAM. It's true, it specifies that the application should indicate which part of the client area contains valid information. The system copies the valid information to the specified area within the new client area. Okay, so the idea here being if you're changing the client area, you want to know how to preserve some of the old information so that you don't have to repaint those portions, right? So returning 0 is just the easy thing to do here, and anything else is fancy. So I'll do that. I'll just let it return 0. If I return true, then I'm changing how I want to align things, which is cool, but not part of what I actually want to solve. All right. Yeah. What about this L-parent part? It's true, L-parent points to an n-calc size params struct that contains information on application. An application can use to calculate the new size and position of the client rectangle. Okay. Right. The first thing here is a rect, but I just want to take a quick read of what's going on here. An array of rectangles, the meaning of the array of rectangles changes during the processing of the WM n-calc size message. When the window procedure receives the WM n-calc size message, the first rectangle contains the new coordinates of a window that has been moved or resized, that is, it is the proposed new window coordinates. The second contains the coordinates of the window before it was moved or resized. The third contains the coordinates of the Windows client area before the window was moved or resized. Coordinates of the Windows client area. Okay, those are the original, that's the old, so I'm getting new frame, old client. If the window is a child window, the coordinates are relative to the client area of the parent window. If the window is a top level, the coordinates are relative to the screen origin. Okay. When the window procedure returns, the first rectangle contains the coordinates of the new client rectangle resulting from the move or resize. Second rectangle contains, okay, so really I could just treat this as a rectangle pointer 2 and change it the same way, right? That contains the size and position values specified in the operation that moved or resized the window. So this again is something where I could just treat it the same way as the other case, and I just would be giving up on fancy features, is what it sounds like. Like, it sounds like I could get more information through this, but I don't necessarily want that information right now. So I guess the question is, when it's wrecked, On entry, the structure contains the proposed window rectangle for the window. On exit, the structure should contain the screen coordinates of the corresponding window client area. So this will be, yeah, either way it's giving me the input frame rectangle, and I'm outputting the client rectangle. Okay, all right. So we can ignore the WPRM true case because all it lets us do is fancier stuff, but if it actually behaves exactly the same way as, or like the base case works for both of them. The code that would work in the base case would work in this case the exact same way. That's what it sounds like. So now I want to figure out, oh, okay, so I'm just taking in a rectangle and I'm modifying it. So like I could do something like shrink these in by 10 each, making a very different kind of border. And there it is. And I want to know, okay. Yeah, so I still have to click on this region to do that. I can come over here and, yeah, that still gives me resizing. Oops. If I click off of it, yeah, I'm still getting the inactive region. Wow, that's pretty cool. So that's mostly it. The only thing I don't have here is an example of intercepting the clicks for this region, so that you can get your buttons, or you know, I could put buttons elsewhere. The point is I have to actually show an example here, so I want to show an example of those buttons, so that you can see how to, first of all, I want to see how to intercept the clicks. I want to see how to simulate the behaviors, and then I want to see how to I want to show an example of doing something other than the built-in minimize, maximize, and X button. I want to put like a different button somewhere else that does something else just for fun. All right, pretty cool. And if I do stuff like this, we still keep the border the whole time. But yeah, it's kind of neat. All right, let's do those other buttons. So I don't actually want that to be my window size. All right, so that shrinks in by that amount. I want to give myself more space right there to do what I want to do. Cool. All right. So the next thing I want is to just hack in a little bit more in my draw function here. I'll make a red box. A green box and a blue box. DC frame rect dot right minus 20 frame rect dot top plus 10 frame rect dot right minus 10 frame rect dot bottom at top plus 20. So that should give me a red square, right? No, I messed something up. Right minus 20, top plus 10, right minus 10, top plus 20. DC, I set the colors. Right, frame rect. Did I build? No, apparently not. Custom draw border. Ah. Alright, there's my red button. It's too dark, but there's my red button. Like a green one. And a blue one. Minus 30. 60 minus 50. Okay, cool. So I got my little buttons there. And now I need to actually go and deal with them over here in the NC hit test thing. So what I'll do is after all of that has happened, if I'm in HT caption, well, why don't I just look at the point and determine for myself what I think should happen, right? That seems better. So I'll first trash the stuff I don't want. Window with the opportunity to assign a particular purpose to point under the cursor, point in the window. Second, we throw away certain symbols that we don't actually want default behavior for. And replace them with something else. Yeah, we'll just do it. Put the 4 right there. Certain results that we don't want default behavior, for which we don't want default behavior. Okay. We actually kind of have a lot of time still. I would have thought we were close to 9 p.m., but I still have 20 minutes. A little under 20 minutes. Okay. We throw away those, and then the next step is I want to do some hit tests of my own. So I'm going to need to look at this thing a little more closely. Low order word specifies the x coordinate. High order word specifies the y coordinate. Do they have those macros? Yeah, they got those macros. Something like that, right? Yeah. So that'll give us those. And then alright, so what are they relative to? As noted above, the x-coordinate is in the low, what is it? Is it relative to the screen, relative to the window, upper left corner of the screen? Alrighty, so what we want to do is basically get the frame rect and then take those rects we were using and do a quick test. So X position, Y position, and then grab this spot here. And we'll just do that for each of these real quick. So 40, 60, 50, 30. And then we're going to go, all right. Close, minimize, and maximize. Okay, so I want to see if that actually lets this stuff work, but first I have to, of course, implement a hit test. go. Okay. XL param at Y. Do not use low word and high word because these macros return incorrect results in systems with multiple monitors. These can have negative X and Y coordinates. Okay, but your X param, Y param thing doesn't compile. What's the deal here? Okay. Oh, man. I'll talk to you in a second, Teddy Fine, but point and rect, that's exactly what I needed. I already got hit test, but let's see, does point and rect require a different type signature though? Yeah, it does. So I don't want to do that just because then I have to pack those into rects, which seems like a pain. So I'm happy to do it that way. So I can get done quick. Alright, so that compiled that. Makes me wonder, this doesn't happen to be in the same situation, did it? Oops. Bloop. Okay, gotta fix that still. No, so that's not in the same situation. Okay, so that works. And now, responding to Teddy Fine, yes, you could use any method you want to draw into that region. First of all, as I just discovered, creating a borderless window is not as easy as I thought. Apparently, the stuff I thought created borderless windows doesn't, and it just creates full screen windows, but not borderless windows. Offset rect. Oh yeah. Okay, thanks. That's a nice tip too. Okay. So the next question is, how do I deal with the fact that when I click on these, it activates the little button? Oh, and it doesn't actually operate them either. So like when I clicked that, it didn't actually maximize. So that's two problems. Okay, problem number one, why is it rendering? There must be someone else whose job it is to handle both of these, right? Or no, because then I would get the... That one works. So there must be some other message coming in with the NC name. So let's do that offset thing real quick. That's a nice tip. Offset rect. So I want to offset the client rect by frame rect left, frame rect top, but I gotta negate them. And then I'll do the same thing again with a frame rect. Okay, so that part's done. Yeah, so then the question is, that thing where the buttons show up. There must be, right, there must be some kind of, yeah, it's even activating before my mouse gets close enough now. So once that takes over, it's in charge of that button. So I have to figure out who those buttons are. Like what NC message is doing that? NCL button, I see. All right, so we need to get these ones still. Wow. All right, let's go through these now that I have a list of them. NC hit test, NCL button, double click. I don't know what you normally trigger. Posted when the user double clicks the left mouse button while the cursor is within the non-client area of a window. This message is posted to the window that contains the cursor. If a window has captured the mouse, this message is not posted. Okay. It returns here the hit test value returned by the def window proc function as a result of processing W. Hit test value, okay, for a list of hit test, yeah. So we get the hit test value back. What does this normally even do? I don't know. L button down, L button up, middle button up, double. So these are just all of the event handler kinds of stuff for L button. NCX button. Okay, that sounds interesting. Is that related to what I'm doing? Posted when the user presses the first or second X button. No, that's just on the mouse's X button, not the X button on the window. R button. So that's the... Okay, now we're not in NC anymore. Well, mouse hover. I'm guessing we just need to handle all of these, but these don't actually cover everything, right? Like, where's NC Paint? Is it in here? Yeah, NC Paint's not even on that list. So these are mouse input notifications for the non-client area specifically. Okay. So I guess just for all of these we want... Yeah, if I take them all out... Wow. Well... I guess I get the picture, I just don't love it. It's not a fun picture, it's just a picture of the truth. So the deal is you just have to handle inputs for these things, right? So if I just take those out of the equation, probably what happens is these don't pop up anymore, but they also don't do anything. Yeah, that's what's going on. So, oh, that also stops that from working. Oh, okay. So, I guess what we have to do is say, whenever one of these happens, we want to only pass handling along. I mean, it's not even that simple. I don't want to call def window proc because that's going to render in... Yeah, this is Windows 7. You're right. Okay, so what I need to do is say... Yeah. You're right. Okay. So these just need to go. Oh, but I don't... Do I get an XY position? Hit test. A points structure that contains the XY coordinates of the cursor. Coordinates are relative to the... A points structure doesn't mean a point? Is it really called a points structure? Is it really called a points structure? well, whatever it's called, that's what I need. So, yeah, so this doesn't go here. What happens instead is we pull this out of here, and we just don't let those cases happen. And then up here we say each of these messages works like the equivalent non-NC version, simply recording a mouse action. So I guess the question is, why is NC even different for these? I guess it's because they want to. That's just so that they can handle these differently than I handle them, right? Do I even need to handle these messages, or just leave them blank and handle the normal messages? Right, of course. Okay. Right. That makes sense. Wait, points is the get XY thing? A points structure that contains the XY coordinates. The X coordinate. This just says it's a struct. Function tests the specified point to find out the location. Just extract the values of X, Y. It's saying right here that L param is a point. Oh, it's a short and a short. I get it. Okay. So this is just going to be, okay. So I don't really need to comment that. What I want to do is just say, look, these I'm going to handle. And then these down here I'm not doing anything. Don't do anything. Yeah, you could do anything. That's pretty cool. You'd want to just, I guess if you were doing a real application, what you would do is probably just translate all of these into the same type of event as the client version does, and you're just handling them so that you're in charge. But you have to handle them. Makes sense. Okay. So that's not what we're going to do. What we want to do is say, let's come up here. Action, and then if I click on this, I'm just setting the ongoing action like so. And when this part comes through, I am going to set that to none afterwards. I guess I need to do that on the button up as well. Oh. You don't want not do anything. You want def window proc. If click is not on your buttons, hold def window proc. If you don't, I think Windows will think you handled them and skip producing regular WM mouse. That's the case. Interesting. So if I wanted to, could I do all of my input handling through those NC versions and never actually let it pass to the WM normal mouse stuff? Like, I don't know. I should play with that at some point to figure out if that is viable. Wow, the stream is more live than I would have thought. I would have thought after I asked the question it was like 60 seconds before I hear back from you, but yeah, okay. Unless you're responding to someone else in the chat. Okay, so what you're saying is, for now, what I should do is this. Later on, maybe I'll play with something swankier, but just to be a good citizen, I'm going to say all of these should do default stuff for now. And since I'm not passing in these HT things, they won't actually activate anything I don't want them to activate. Wait, not that, this. But otherwise, I do want them to do their stuff. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, I definitely don't want to play with that because it gets kind of annoying if you have to actually do all of your UI work in these things here, because then it is super tied to the platform, and figuring out how to untangle that would be nice. So, like, if, for instance, none of this had to happen because it was just packaging the information up and passing it along, that would be nice. But if it has to call this only when it's not being handled, you can't really do that. So then the application needs, like, a way to basically do this with a callback or like a procedure you fill out at the time. Hello, Florian. All right. I'm going to demonstrate moving the window around in a second, just to answer that question for sure, in case Martins wasn't answering you already anyway. But there we go. That should maybe do the job, except that I haven't actually done the actions. So how do you actually execute close? So I have a close window function I want to call. Sometimes with the Windows API, it's actually spot on. Like, you can just guess what you need. Destroy. To destroy a window, an application must use the destroy window function. Function to return a handle to the window to be minimized. Oh, minimizes but does not destroy the window. Ah, okay, so not what I wanted. Close window, hwind. I might not be allowed to call these from inside here. It's a little iffy to say. I mean, with this one, I could just say, this is my opportunity to just keep running to 0 now and be done with it instead of waiting for later. That one I need for minimize, I think. And is there one for maximizing? Maximize. Maximize window. Alright, so close window does do what I expected, is what you're saying. And that documentation was just confusing. Makes sense though. I've seen this before. I should know that this is the right thing for minimizing and maximizing at this point. hwind, WS. No, yeah. WS? It's SW, right. Minimize. Maximize. Make sure I put these in the same order everywhere. Yeah, minimize, then maximize. Okay. There's my window. Hey, it maximized. Unmaximized. Uh-oh. So I have to have... something's going wrong. I'm not sure what. I'm not sure if the hit test is failing, or if maximizing is just... I have to have an unmaximized version, right? But minimize works just fine. So that's cool. And close. Okay. So we're getting there. The only thing I did wrong was... That's not how you actually want to maximize. You have to also activate the display window. If the window is minimized or maximized, the system restores it to the original size and position. Okay, so that's what I want. But I have to know which state I'm in to do the right thing. So I have to figure that part out too. Maximize. If something, then do this. Oops, no, not that. If something, then do this. Otherwise, do this. Hwind restore. Okay, so how do I check if a window is maximized? Window placement. Yes, I've called this before too. I remember now. The window placement struct will have the answer. Placement and oh, this is right. Show command. Yes, this will show me. Okay, so if the placement dot show command equals that. There's a couple others that actually imply maximization too, so I should go track those down. Show maximized. It's the same thing. Show min active show. So maybe it's not. Maybe it's not. Show minimized and minimize are different, but maximized and show maximized not different. That's how to get you. All right, 3 hours and 14 minutes says Insobot. That's how long I've been up. So we're going to wrap this up now. This has gone pretty well, but here we go. Let's see if we got... Uh-oh, I might have done it backwards. All right, so if it is maximized, then do a restore. Otherwise, do a maximize. All right, maximize, unmaximize, maximize, unmaximize. Now I'm a little bit concerned that I can see the default window border moving around when I'm doing a maximize or unmaximize. I wonder if there's some kind of animation that I need to take over as well, and if that's even a good idea. Let me do a quick experiment. Huh. No, it looks like maximize via system menu. You mean, I don't have the alt space working yet. Okay, what do you mean by system menu? Just to make sure I'm understanding that. Maximize, minimize, maximize, restore. Okay, so interestingly, if I come over here on Chrome and I unmaximize it and maximize it, even it... Oh, crap. I just accidentally closed it. 1 second. That was my chat window. I can't see what you guys are saying now. I just lost the whole chat history. I should do it on this Chrome window. What am I doing? If I do it on the Chrome window, it does the same thing. Like, you can see the default window. It might just be because I have the compositor turned off, and that's like the best I can do in this situation. I don't know. Let me think if there's any other Visual Studio is also this way. What is Visual Studio? Yeah, even Visual Studio has it. So I'm going to guess that's probably as far as it's worth pushing it if they're not doing anything about that feature. At least on Windows 7. So I think that that's actually a really good stopping spot. We have moving the window around. We have resizing it in all of the normal ways. And we have the buttons that do the stuff. And if we want to be fancy, we can put those buttons on this side now, put them on the bottom of the window. We could do anything we want because we rendered those. We're handling all of the inputs for them. That is pretty fun. That is pretty fun. That is, I don't know why that's so fun, but that is pretty fun. So if I had DWM, if I had the DWM API, Martins, what things could be done better? Like if for the cases where DWM is available, we're doing the flush is already in there. Are there any other tips of things that DWM could do to like clean up some details here? Maybe next time I stream this, I'll turn Arrow on. I don't know. I'm just asking if there's like parts of this that like the thing about like extending into the client region. I didn't fully understand what that does, and if that's something that like would be worth having an example for, or if it's like this is pretty much what it would look like everywhere, and the DWM stuff is mostly not necessary. Or not helpful at all. Doesn't improve the quality in any way. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what that API does since this is the first time I was going to look at it. Yeah, so that sounds like I'll have to do this again next week with DWM. I'll have to do this again next week with my Arrow enabled so that we can work on this some more. Cool. So I also want to, yeah. So one thing I don't have right now is alt space isn't doing anything, but I have that on every application I make, and I don't know how I break that. Like anything else, it just works. In my code, it never works. Can't do it here. Maybe it's going in full screen. Okay, so I can do it on 4Coder actually. I'm not in full screen mode. I assume this is one of the things I've overridden, maybe. Although I don't know. WSS menu. Let me check if I actually left that there. I might have. I don't know if it ended up staying there as I was shuffling things around. No, it's in there. Yeah, so what actually am I getting for sysmenu? If that isn't working. I do have all of that stuff working, which is cool. That's funny. All right. Okay. I'm not sure what to do about that alt space thing. I'd kind of like to have that in a working state before I call it a day. So let's narrow in on that real quick. What does this have to say about it? The window has a window menu on its title bar. Maybe that explains it. It must have WS caption. It doesn't say it's equivalent to having WS caption. So maybe I didn't add that, and that's the problem. Let me just double check. Sometimes I build and don't actually give it a chance to finish. No, that's not it. That's too bad. Seems so elegant. Okay, so does caption require something else to be enabled? No, but it includes the WS border. Okay. So all of those things I've put in there basically sum up to overlapped, right? Except the size box thing. Doesn't say size boxes in there. Ah, translate message. You're right. I forgot about that one. Well, I didn't forget about it. I just didn't forget to put it in. It was actually the only one I could remember when I was trying to remember dispatch message. But then I didn't write it. There it is. Okay. Cool. So yeah, that will be it for today. Thanks for hanging out on the stream, folks. And I will probably do this again next week to make it much harder and turn the compositor on and see if I can still get everything up and running. So, see you guys later. Bye.